addition that was added on as a tribute to, of all things, the left side. Isn't that fun? The postmodern addition was added on by a major firm of our time, Skidmore, Owings & Merrill. They're the same ones who did the Sears Tower in 1973. Okay, quick bit of history, sad bit of history. The Great Fire happened October 9, 1871, killed a little over 300 people, but it was not our largest disaster in terms of lives lost. That was actually a boating accident called the Eastland disasters. Anybody ever heard of it? The Eastland disaster happened in 1915, exactly where we're at right now. There was a boat right here on the river, loaded up with 2,500 people, Western Electric employees and their families that were getting ready to go out on a trip for the day. Something happened, the boat was top heavy, and capsized, killed over 800 people. Isn't that something? Died right here in the river, 800 people, including 22 entire families. So that is by far our largest disaster in terms of lives lost. Back over on the right, this reflective building is my absolute favorite to see at night. If you get a chance, come back and check out this reflective building at night. It is gorgeous. It's called the United Airlines building. It's a postmodern building from the early 1990s. Right next door to that, kind of an odd little brown building, 55 West Wacker Drive, built in 1968. You see how the lack of columns at its corners gives it kind of a prickly appearance? That is called the brutalist style of architecture. Called brutalist not for how it looks, but for the material that those buildings were oftentimes made out of, which is raw concrete, or in French, béton brut. That's where we get brutalist from. On the right, just after the bridge, this dark building with the metal on its windows is the Leo Burnett Building, built in 1989. It houses Chicago's largest advertising agency. And you see how it's like a collection of columns within one column? Right down to that main doorway, you got a bunch of columns. Sometimes what postmodernism likes to do is take one architectural element and give us a tribute to that element. So in that case, you have a tribute to the column itself. Now, postmodernism as a movement influenced lots of things. Literature, the plastic arts, dance, music, you name it. But it began in architecture. So go home, tell all your friends, impress them with your knowledge. Postmodernism began in architecture as a direct reaction to modernism. Which, if you hear how that would look like, don't worry, it's right here. That is the modernist style that postmodernists thought was kind of boring. So postmodernism literally means after modernism. Back over on the right diagonally to us, look at that beautiful green building with that illuminated gold up there. Isn't that gorgeous? Kind of looks like a huge champagne bottle, doesn't it? Which is pretty funny considering that it was built during Prohibition in 1929, so you know someone was sticking it to somebody with that design. That's called the Carbide and Carbon Building. It's an Art Deco building on Michigan Avenue. It houses the Hard Rock Hotel. And by the way, the gold up on top, you can bet it's real gold. On the right, Chicago's skinniest skyscraper, it's called Mather Tower. It is a neo-Gothic building from 1928. And back over on the left, look up. This huge silver building is called Trump Tower. Trump Tower was just finished last year. It's currently our second tallest building. And if you look up again, you see there's a series of setbacks to its height. Here's the secret on that one. Each one of those setbacks is meant to match the height of some neighboring building. So it's very dependent on its location for how it looks. That would, of course, be another postmodern building for you. It's kind of fun being let in on the conversation, isn't it? Over on the right, my last favorite I'm going to point out to you today, this beautiful building with the concave facade and the columns and tempietto up on top. Beautiful Beaux-Arts building from 1923. It's called the London Guarantee and Accident Building. Now, it looks pretty right now, but you're going to get another shot of it once we go into the bridge. I don't know if the sun will be too much in your eyes, but take a look back at it. I think it makes for a nice picture. Oops, the sun really is right there. Alright, well, since you can't look directly into the sun, I'm going to make a different recommendation. Come back to this intersection at night if you get a chance. This is basically where Michigan Avenue intersects with the river, the southern end of the Magnificent Mile. If you come back here at night, stand across the street from the Wrigley Building, You have such a wonderful variety of architectural styles all right here in one spot, and they are so pretty at night. So come back, check it out. The sun won't be in your eyes at that point. Now, over on the right, there's a huge white building back there with very noticeable vertical lines. Everybody see it back behind all these buildings? That is currently Chicago's third tallest building. Lost its second place to Trump Tower last year. It's called the Aon Center. I'm going to tell you about it in a moment. First, down to the right, the building with the big spire up on top, looks like it's got a sword up on top. That is called 2 Prudential Plaza. It's a postmodern building. We call it 2 Pru for short. Back to that white building. It's going to duck out of sight. We're going to get another better shot of it once we go under this bridge. So right after we go under, I'm going to have you guys take a look back at this huge white building. Again, it's called the Aon Center. Used to be the Amoco building. Also used to be the Standard Oil building, which is why it used to have the nickname Big Stan. And imagine this, when it was built in 1973, it was clad entirely in Italian Carrara marble from the same quarry as Michelangelo's David. It's a lot of Davids. Third tallest, that's a lot of Davids. Look back at that white facade and imagine that all used to be marble. Until that marble couldn't withstand Chicago's winters, because really, who can? It started to crack and buckle, and all that marble had to be replaced with good old sturdy North Carolina granite. That's the white that you saw there today, and it was a renovation project that cost roughly half of what it cost to build the whole thing in the first place. So that is officially architectural boo-boo number 2. And if I have a moment at the end, I'm going to tell you what they did with all that marble. Remember the gigantic triangle? We're passing by it on the right. It's right next to us on the river. Isn't that neat? That is called the Swiss Hotel. It comes from 1988, and you can tell it's a Harry Weiss construction because it's a huge triangle. The man loved the triangle. Its coloring also kind of provides a nice visual transition from the kind of solid nature of downtown with the upcoming open expanses of the lake. So it's another postmodern building that kind of appreciates the location. You might also be curious about the building with the wavy balconies. You're going to get a really good shot of it now once the sun ducks behind the Swiss Hotel. It's kind of coasting into a nice clear shot. The building with the wavy balconies is meant to look like water, which is why it has the name Aqua. And it was designed by a woman architect here in Chicago named Jean Gang, who leads her very own firm, Studio Gang, that was just finished last year, very quickly becoming one of Chicago's favorite buildings. Now, all along the left, we're passing by a whole development called Cityfront Center. It includes Centennial Fountain, and then these condos on the left, which are called the Riverview condos. Now, you see how these condos have a green color to their windows? And actually, a lot of these buildings have green in their windows. These are postmodern buildings. So that green's got to be referring to something in the area. Does anybody want to take a guess? The river, you got it. Specifically the water at this point of the river where it's nice and green and clean. You see how they kind of match? I used to get that question sometimes. How is it possible that your river is so pretty and green and clean? Right? You ready for the answer? It has nothing to do with dye. Outside of St. Patrick's Day, it has nothing to do with dye. It's because it is not actually river water.